We often hear about Petersburg and the mines at Petersburg, but there's a lot more behind me. We'll do our best to get you to hear us. But we often think about Petersburg and the mine at Petersburg, the Battle of the Crater, but you don't really think about Vicksburg when you think about that. But in reality, Vicksburg was really one of the first. And let's get into that a little bit. This episode of History Saver 1941 is brought to you by Civil War Navy, the magazine, where the history of Civil War naval warfare explodes onto the pages of this excellent quarterly publication. This month, read about the U.S. Navy's missed opportunity at Vicksburg in 1862. Flag Officer David G. Farragut's first failed attempt to capture Vicksburg after the capture of New Orleans is described in detail and analyzed. In order to get your subscription of Civil War Navy, the magazine, you can use code VIDEO1941 for your chance to receive 20% off your net subscription. Again, that's VIDEO1941 code at checkout. Thank you again to Civil War Navy, the magazine, for sponsoring this video. So we have some literature here, and we are in the spot of the Louisiana Redan here on the battlefield of Vicksburg. As you can see around me, we have the space you've seen for the first two episodes on this series, but we've moved to this portion of the battlefield, and this is going to be a very important place during the siege of Vicksburg, because there's some things that's going to take place in this part of the field that have never been done before. And this is probably the strongest portion of the entire battlefield here for the Confederates at the siege of Vicksburg. And the Union are going to come in and they're going to blow it up physically. That's what they're going to do. And there's some literature here talking about this. There was the assaults here on the fortifications on May the 19th and 22nd. It ended in heavy Union losses. The defenses here were holding strong. Grant knew this. He had to come up with a plan. So here at the 3rd Louisiana Redan, all the phases of siege warfare were brought to light right here in this location. Everything that you have when you think about siege warfare took place here. Now, federal troops started laboring 24 hours a day in the brutal Mississippi summer heat. You can't forget, it's June, May and June here in Mississippi. It is hot. It is May right now. It's hot. During that time, it wouldn't have been as hot to those guys as they're more accustomed to it, but it was still hot. You're in a hot, humid environment here on the water. They started digging trenches in this 24 hours a day. They were digging trenches down this road, which is the Jackson Road, all the way to this position right here. And the 45th Illinois Infantry burrowed under the point of the Redan and filled a mine with over 2,200 pounds of black powder. Now, let's go on top of this and let's talk a little bit about this mining operation that the troops here, the federal troops here, were making and why they were doing it. Now, before we go up there, I want to point out this guy right here because he's going to play an important role. This is Andrew Hickenlooper. This is the guy in charge of the federal troops digging in and digging this mine. So we're making our way right now up to the Louisiana Redan. And as you can see here, this is the end of Logan's approach to the Confederate 3rd Louisiana Redan. And he carried to this point June the 22nd. And a mine began here the next day. And what they basically would do is they would tunnel their way under the Confederate works. And they would, on June the 25th, blow it up. Just put charges to it and let her go. So we're going through the Confederate works right now. You saw the end of Logan's battery there. Now we're in the Confederate works, and as you can tell by the signage here, we're in the Confederate line of the 3rd Louisiana. So we were just at the end of Logan's battery. We are now in the Confederate lines of the 3rd Louisiana. So these are the Louisiana men here. So what would happen is that those federal troops would come here and they will dig a mine in this general location.
They put 2,200 pounds of explosives in here, gunpowder. And they have this thing set to explode on the 25th of June at 3 o'clock. Well, the whole time that the Federals are digging this thing, you've got Confederate troops up here that can hear what's going on down in the tunnel. They can hear the voices of the Federals digging this tunnel. And they can't really pinpoint where they are, but they hear them. And when they hear the digging stop on June the 25th, they hear the voices go away. Well, there's either one or two things that's going to happen. This baby's going to explode, or they're eating some lunch. Well, no, that's not what happens. At 3:28 p.m., they hear a slight murmur beneath their feet. Then all of a sudden, in this location, freaking boom, man. This whole thing lights up. There's mules flying in the air, artillery pieces flying in the air, men flying in the air, pieces of wood flying everywhere. And Grant is sitting over here somewhere watching all of this. And I can't help but think what he was thinking. Well, this ain't going to be the only mining operation that would take place. Another mine explodes here on July the 1st. And then there is a multiple number of mines that's set to go off here later on July the 5th or the 6th, one or the two, I can't really remember. But it's either the 5th or the 6th. There's multiple mines that Grant is planning to explode here. But of course, the Confederates surrender on July the 3rd. And then ultimately the ceremony, as I'm going to call it, takes place on the 4th, where they raise the flag, you know, U.S. flag over the courthouse in Vicksburg, Mississippi once again. So this is just a view of everything here in this position. And we're going to take a little bit of a gander and peek and take a look at a couple more things here. So this is a memorial to Pembroke S. Centeny, who was a lieutenant colonel of the 2nd Missouri CS Infantry, I think that's Missouri MO if I'm not mistaken, killed in the battle July the 1st, 1863. So he died in this general vicinity on July the 1st. And then if we walk over here, we have another memorial here to another guy by the name of Eugene Irwin. He was a colonel of the 6th, and he was killed in battle here June the 25th, 1863 as well. So he was killed here during that explosion of the mine in this location. So could you imagine being a Confederate, you know, soldier here in this location, hearing these Federals down below you from where you're sitting at right here, hearing those voices down in a tunnel somewhere up under your feet as they're digging, and you know they're digging a mine to explode right up underneath you, but you don't know exactly where or when? Well, 3:28 p.m. July 25th, that's what happens. This mine explodes with 2,200,000 pounds of gunpowder, and General Grant sent back here watching the whole thing go up in smoke. So after this mine explodes, what ends up happening here is almost 26 straight hours of nothing but combat. And I'm talking hand-to-hand combat. I'm not talking far distance, you know, line battle type stuff. I'm talking bayonet to bayonet and fist to fist. I mean, this is a slugfest for over 26 straight hours after this mine explodes. And the Confederates do not want to give an inch of ground here. And that's exactly what they continue to do. So we walked down this little service road to give you another view here of this old Jackson Road portion. I believe, if I'm right, that's what this is. Could be mistaken, but it cuts right through this Louisiana Redan. Right here, Confederate line sits Missouri. Yeah, that was Missouri troops. May the 28th to June the 2nd, 38 Mississippi from June the 2nd. So a lot of high grass here. I don't want to get snake bit, so I'm not going up there. But this is all the Confederate positions here. And this was the scene of the most savage fighting during the entire siege of Vicksburg. When you want troop-to-troop action, it didn't get any worse than this place. So I'm looking at this right now. I'm in one of the embankments here, and you can see just straight dirt right there. And that's what all of this would have looked like at the time. It's just straight Mississippi clay dirt, just like that. So I thought that was neat to kind of see, to, you know, to give you an example of what it looked like. No grass, just that straight dirt. Now, before we quite close out here, I want to mention someone that doesn't get any recognition at these battlefields and National Park Service sites, and that's these guys that's like walking right past my truck right there. That's those guys out here in the hot, brutal summer sun, cleaning up this place, keeping it nice for you to come visit. So if you see some of these guys, do me a favor and tell them thank you. Even though it's their job, they're doing this ultimately for you. So yeah, these guys are out here sweating it out, doing all the hard work so you can come out and enjoy these places. So make sure you go thank them. So that is a little bit about the Louisiana Redan. Definitely not the entire history. So if you comment I left something out, I know, yes, I left a lot out, but that would take entirely too long to cover in an episode. So look it up. I'll challenge you to do so and learn a little bit of the history about what happened here. I gave you a taste, but there's a lot more you can dig into. And we've got a lot more to see on this battlefield, so we're going to continue on. So until the next episode from here at Vicksburg, keep preserving history, stay safe. We'll see you soon. Visit Project Past to History Underground, American Battlefield Trust. Don't forget those guys. We'll see you then.